Well, hello everyone, and welcome to my look at the new movie, Alien Romulus. We have a review of the movie coming up for you, as well as the merch search for alien-related merchandise. And there will be a bonus. We're going to take a look at something called 5 Wits. More on that later. I saw the movie at a Regal Theater, and I was told that Regal Theaters were offering some merchandise related to the Alien Romulus film. I didn't see any in that theater, though later on we'll see some in another Regal theater. After the movie, I went and had some fun at 5 Wits, which offered an interactive experience. There were 3 different stories, I suppose you say, available to experience. In keeping with the alien theme, I chose the Deep Space. In addition to Deep Space, they also offered a medieval knights and dragons themed experience, as well as a Egyptian mummy themed experience. These are not exactly escape rooms, but if you like escape rooms, then this is probably going to be something you're going to like too. As you can see, the waiting area gives you a glimpse at the 3 different offerings available. And they also had a selection of souvenir merchandise available for those who wanted to remember the experience. I did enjoy the waiting area. I didn't have to wait long. These are timed experiences, so you arrive at a certain time, and if you're a little early, you wait for your time to arrive, then they'll take you back and begin your adventure. And to begin our adventure in deep space, they showed us this preview video.
Ah, good. There you are. I would love to make formal introductions, but we have very little time. I'm not sure how much you've been informed of the details of Project Nebulous. It is Deep Space Corporation's flagship, literal flagship. Here. The Project Nebulous team built and launched the ship you see here, carrying our only long-range engines at the time. Now, this was about 10 years ago when we mysteriously lost contact with the ship. We assumed it had been destroyed, until now. Yesterday, we received a radio distress signal from the Nebulous. All attempts to contact the ship have failed. We only receive a repeated binary message that spells out, "Help me," followed by coordinates. Now, we can use those coordinates to teleport you aboard the Nebulous. Our teleport technology can safely hold you in space for only half an hour before it returns you to Earth, give or take about 20 or so feet. So, you will only have 30 minutes to get there, figure out what has happened to the ship, help them in any way you can, and return safely. We have no idea what you'll find. Good luck.
After that, we were beamed aboard the bridge. You can see it here. Here we have a number of puzzles to figure out to determine how to proceed. After solving the puzzles on the bridge, we were allowed into this corridor, where there were more puzzles, and also apparently a portal companion cube, but I like that touch. You might see a few hints at what those puzzles might be like here, but I won't reveal them. For those that are thinking of trying this experience themselves. This was the final chamber. It was the computer core. A few more puzzles to solve here, and you get one of their endings. Could be good, could be bad. And now on to the merch search from here. I found that Regal did indeed have some alien merchandise shown on their website, as you can see pictured here, though they were all sold out. But at a different Regal theater, I did find this one t-shirt with a facehugger saying, "I'm a hugger." I find it intriguing to see which movies get a big merchandising push and which don't. I would think there would be a big possibility for alien merchandising, but I didn't really see much. We did find some, and you'll see some coming up. But here was at an FYE. The perfect store to find this kind of merchandise. And you see pop culture merchandise of all kinds pictured here. from various different franchises, but I couldn't find any Alien merchandise here. Even the Munsters, and Willy Wonka, and Cheetos had merchandise in this store, but I couldn't find any Alien. And I looked all over. Now, Funko will make Funko Pops for just about anything you can imagine from pop culture. But even among all of these Funko Pops, I couldn't find any Alien Funko Pops unless I missed them. There are quite a lot here. Even the usual suspects like Walmart and Target pretty much came up dry. Although I did find this Predator action figure kind of related at a Target. So there's sort of a crossover franchise. At Great Escape Adventures, a board game store, I did see an expansion pack to an Aliens game, but not the game itself. My saving grace turned out to be a Barnes & Noble. They had, at the very least, Alien DVDs and Blu-rays. That was the Alien Quadrilogy Blu-ray, a set of the first 4 movies. And here's the first movie on DVD and the first movie on 4K Blu-ray. For those 4K enthusiasts, also Alien Covenant on DVD. And in the back, this one's neat. This is the special edition anniversary pack for the second movie, Aliens, which is actually my favorite in the franchise. And if you're into the Alien novels, I found a few of those at Barnes & Noble as well. This is a book that collects 3 novels, Out of the Shadows, Sea of Sorrows, and River of Pain. We also found this one, which just one novel by itself, but this is also in the Aliens franchise as well. Those who like to read about their favorite franchises. There was a comic book shop nearby called Comic Cubicle, and here we found more Alien comic books. There's a whole stack of Alien comic books here. Some of these will have some very wonderful comic book art depicting the alien xenomorphs. This one is a red color scheme, very reminiscent of the Alien Romulus movie poster. And I like this one here, a parody of Whistler's Mother, but with a face hugger. And their back issues also had a few. They even had a divider dedicated to Alien. You see here, Superman fighting aliens. And Wildcats versus aliens. I believe earlier on you saw an Avengers versus Aliens. And finally here, at a box lunch, I was able to find a little bit of Alien merchandise. This sweatshirt and this t-shirt. And that was about it. Strangely, there doesn't seem to be a very big merchandising push for Alien Romulus. And by now you're probably wondering, what did I think of the movie? Well, they say in space, no one can hear you review a movie. I say we put that to the test right now with our Alien Romulus review. Alien Romulus returns the Alien franchise back to its classic roots. The Alien movies did kind of a detour with the last 2 films, going off in a different direction, trying to expand the lore, which was already pretty well fleshed out. And it didn't go over quite so well with Alien fans. This new movie, it does take things back to the traditional Alien films and does feel a lot like the first two Alien movies, which are the best ones. It is not as good as the first two movies. If this is your introduction to the Alien franchise, you may want to go with Alien or Aliens first, rather than go to this. That being said, it is the classic Aliens formula brought back to the big screen. If you're an Aliens fan and you're missing seeing Alien on the big screen, this is a chance for you to see it. The movie is banking on some of that nostalgia anyway. You can especially see that in the character of Rook. Rook is an android that is based on Ash. Before I go too far, let me do a quick synopsis of the film. This film takes place on and in orbit around a mining colony run by the company, you know, the Weyland-Yutani Corporation that has been the big bad throughout the Alien franchise. Yeah, they're back, and they are still the quintessential evil movie corporation. They're running this mining planet, and they're treating their employees there as their own personal workforce that they can do basically whatever they want with. They can change their contracts indiscriminately, and there's nothing really they can do about it. So there's a group of these miners on this mining colony, these workers for the Weyland-Yutani Corporation that are trying to escape to freedom, basically. They have a ship, and they are trying to use it to get to another planet where they will find freedom. But the problem is that that planet is a journey that's going to be years away, so they'll need cryosleep pods in order to make that journey. But they don't have any. However, they've detected a derelict space vessel, which they think is a ship, coming into orbit of the planet. And their plan is to take their spaceship, take it into orbit, dock with the derelict ship, and loot it for its cryosleep pods so that they can then make the trip to freedom on another planet. Well, as it turns out, this is not a derelict spaceship. It's a derelict space station. It's a whole space station that is floating abandoned in space. And when they get aboard, they soon learn that the reason it has been abandoned is because the residents of this space station have been doing experiments on the very same alien xenomorph that was ejected into space in the first Alien movie. Spoilers for the first Alien movie. Sorry if you haven't seen the first movie. But the alien that got ejected into space in the first Alien movie was recovered, and they used its DNA to reverse engineer the entire life cycle of the alien xenomorph. So they've now reproduced facehuggers and the xenomorphs, the adult xenomorphs, and they're all locked up on this station. The only survivor, if you can call him that, on this space station is Rook. And Rook is an android who is of the same model as Ash from the original Alien film. Now, again, you can see that they're going for a nostalgia, and they're going for a return to form, bringing the Alien franchise back to its roots. And they're showing it by giving the fans that little dose of nostalgia by bringing back the image of Ian Holmes. It's CGI created, but and you can tell it's obviously CGI created, but I suppose any janky or mechanical movements that come about because of that, you can dismiss because he's a damaged android. But at any rate, he's the one that's left behind to explain what was going on this station. And from there, the crew of freedom seekers find themselves the victims of the remaining xenomorphs and facehuggers. And the rest of the movie ensues from there. The standard horror and close calls and jump scares that you would expect all come about from that premise. Now, the movie does try to do a few things differently. It tries to go back to the original formula and then tries to find what hasn't been fully fleshed out from that. Trying not to stray too far from the formula, but finding where they can delve into something a little bit more for an action set piece or something like that. I found one of the things that they did try to do was to get more out of the facehuggers. A larger portion of this film is spent on surviving the facehuggers than I think is typically seen in an Aliens film. There's a whole action set piece in a corridor where the facehuggers who have been frozen are being thawed, and there's a leak creating a layer of water at the bottom of the compartment, so the facehuggers are able to hide in the small amount of water on the floor and skitter around and jump out and attack those that have intruded on this compartment. And I find that they do try to get a lot more fear, a lot more terror out of these facehuggers this time. Also, they seem to explore a little bit more with the acid for blood, which is something that, I thought would come up more in the previous Alien films than actually did. But they specifically state at one point in the film that they are at the bottom deck of the space station, and that any acid that eats through the deck on the floor, that is going to lead directly to the vacuum of space and can cause decompression. And they'll all be blown out into space. So they have to be very careful to not get killed by the aliens, but also not injure the aliens to the point where they would bleed their acid blood. It's a very difficult proposition for them. And there's also something they do with gravity, which is not something I've seen the Alien films work with before. The artificial gravity always just seems to kind of work. But here it's turned off on the ship on the space station when they first arrive, and for maintenance purposes, it has a cycle when it's off that it will turn on at certain intervals, and just will randomly just come back on. Not randomly, but predictably. But it does come back on, and this does lead to this strange situation where they're dealing with having gravity and having no gravity until they're able to restore gravity. Though that does also lead to a situation where they are able to use that to their advantage later in the film. So I noticed a number of themes running throughout the movie, some of which are common for Alien films. One of those is the fear of corporate power to the point of it becoming tyranny. Again, the Weyland-Yutani Corporation is just a beast in these films, and they are something to be feared. They seem to have no limits to their power. They seem to be able to do just whatever they want, and no one seems to be able to stop them. And they are completely driven entirely by their own benefit. And they have no concern for anyone else or any other ideals, anything other than what benefits the corporation, the company. And that is something that does tend to frighten people. It frightened people when the first Alien movie is made, and it still frightens people today. Something that probably frightens people more today, and is another theme in the movie, is the fear of artificial intelligence. Now, that was perhaps a little bit something people feared a little bit. We saw Ash in the first movie being an evil artificial intelligence that worked for the company. And here we see Rook being another evil AI, similar to Ash. But there's also another android in the film. His name is Andy. And I think Andy is meant to be the flip side of that coin, much as like Bishop was the flip side of Ash being a good android in the sequel Aliens. But Andy in this film is more like an innocent. He's at the beginning of the movie very childlike. Imagine like if you've ever seen or read of Mice and Men, if you know the Lenny character, kind of reminds me of that. Very childlike and innocent, and very loyal to his sister, I think he refers to her as. But his personality undergoes a drastic change during the movie. In order to provide him with information about how to work the station, they have to remove a chip from Rook and install it into Andy. And that not only gives him new knowledge, new information, but also changes his personality and gives him new directives. He now becomes an agent for the company. So I think that Andy represents the potential for AI, as AI can still be used for good, or it can be used for evil. And Andy kind of represents that potential to go either way. As left on his own, he's an innocent, and his sister is able to direct him towards the good. But with the influence of the company, courtesy of Rook, he tends to skew a little bit more towards the evil. So I think that's representative of our new views of AI, with AI today being a reality in a way it never was back when the first Alien movies were made. I think that's more representative of our views of AI today. Another thing that was a major theme in prior Alien films, and still a major theme here, is the idea of motherhood and the fears associated with motherhood and with pregnancy. In this case, we explore it almost more in a more direct sense. It was almost like sort of metaphor in previous films, with the chest bursters like bursting out of their victim, almost like they were being born, like their gestation inside the human host was kind of like a pregnancy, but a monstrous version of it. Well, we get a more literal monstrous pregnancy in this film, as in there is a woman among the Freedom Seekers who is already pregnant when they board the space station, and she gets injured, and Rook provides them with a formula. Apparently, they were researching some kind of genetic elixir of some kind that would boost the human genome and give human beings an ability to survive more like that of the xenomorphs. So that's what they were apparently trying to do this time aboard the space station. Apparently this time it was the aliens were not being researched for the weapons division, but were being researched for the pharmaceutical division, if I understood the film correctly. So the formula is given to the pregnant woman to enable her to survive long enough to get to the ship and escape. There's a lot of foreshadowing. They don't want to administer it they have bad feelings about it. But it comes down to a point where it's do or die. They have to make a choice. She injects herself and does manage to survive long enough to get on the ship and escape. But after escaping, she finds out that she's going into labor and she's giving birth, but the baby has been transformed into some alien human hybrid creature. A similar idea to what was seen in the fourth film in the franchise, Alien Resurrection, but handled very differently. But we see like a something inhuman being born out of a human, which is a rather disturbing and terrifying thing. I mean, it's similar to what we've seen in previous Alien films, but it's more direct and perhaps more visceral. But this does also lead into the series' sort of respect for, love of women. I mean, it's always had women protagonists in many of its films. Ellen Ripley, of course, being the quintessential action female action hero, essentially. And we see again the group of freedom seekers have a few women among them, and the lead character is also a woman. I will say she does not have sort of the charisma or like the movie star quality of Sigourney Weaver, unfortunately, but is able to carry the film well enough. Again, the film is good, but it is not of the quality of the original Alien films, probably owing a lot to Sigourney Weaver. You got to give Sigourney Weaver a lot of that credit. But the film does showcase women and their importance. The women are mothers. Again, we're talking with the motherhood theme. The women are mothers. The alien queen in Aliens, the second Alien film, was a mother. The computer aboard all the ships that works for the corporation is called Mother. So there's this big connection between women and motherhood and the importance of them and how they're just so necessary for society that they're worth being protected. They're worth protecting themselves, and they're worth helping each other out. We see a lot of scenes of women helping each other to survive, and so that's something for those that feel that there really isn't as much female representation in action films, or action horror, I guess as you would categorize this. The Alien franchise has always delivered for that kind of audience, and I think this one still does as well. And this view of women ties into a view of humanity. I mean, humanity is important. There's the humanity of the people just trying to survive, of people helping each other, and that's good, and that's contrasted with the inhumanity of rogue AIs, the corporation, the company Weyland-Yutani, and these alien creatures. There's so many inhuman things battling against basic humanity, and this, in a way, it does promote the importance of humanity and being good and being humane, being human and humane with each other, by contrasting what it looks like when humanity is absent in many different ways. And that does lead to the horror of this action horror franchise. Bottom line is I do recommend the film, but only for Alien fans that are ready for a return to form, and want to see the aliens again on the big screen. If you're new to the franchise, I don't think that this is your entry point. I think that start with Alien or Aliens. From there, move on to maybe Alien versus Predator, or if you want to continue with the original trilogy, go to Alien 3. But if you then find yourself to be an Alien fan, I'd still say you can overlook Prometheus and Alien Covenant. So you can probably skip those unless you become so deeply sucked into the franchise that you really want those deep cuts. But this one is probably one of the better ones made after the first two. So I'd say like after the first two, you can go with this one or Alien versus Predator maybe or Alien 3. But you'll find better Alien movies out there if that's what you're looking for. But if you just like this franchise and you want to see it on the big screen again, I think you won't be disappointed.